the only way to research this stuff in a way that uncovers what's really going on is to do it without belief and just follow where the information takes you without shutting it out because it's challenging your belief system. Won't go there because I don't want to know what's there. And so I've gone in the last year into some very interesting areas that will challenge a lot of people, but in the book, The Biggest Secret, which should be out by January, I'm going to document what I'm going to talk about here in very great detail. So that's the basis up to the present day of how the few control the mass. The few at the top hoard significant knowledge. Knowledge about the nature of life, who we are, where we've come from, all these things, the nature of possibility of technology. And they keep the people in ignorance of that and try to get them all to believe something rigidly, and in their self-righteousness dismiss anything else that questions that belief. And it's a wonderful structure for control. As we go along tonight, some of the things that have been suppressed in the past will become clear, but I just want to talk about some of the things that are going on today. Since I was last here, I met a guy in America who asked to meet me. We had this meeting, and he was a lovely man, family man, and he works for the CIA in scientific research against his will. And he's a genius. And there are loads of people like this around the world. They want their genius, which could help to set people free, but they want to use that genius to advance this agenda, which is the opposite of setting people free. And this guy was telling me he works in the really secret projects that go on in underground bases all over the world. He's obviously based in America. And he said that technology exists now, and has done for many, many decades, for free energy. Free energy, literally. Cost-free. Accessing the natural electricity and energy of life that we live amongst and turning it into usable warmth and power, cost-free. Why is that suppressed? Because the more that we need to earn to survive and live, the more we are forced to serve the system to raise the money to pay for the things we need to live. So free energy, no more utility bills. My goodness me, we can't have that. They'll all want to do it. The technology exists now, and has done for some time, to create abundant growth in deserts without any water, using magnetics, stimulating growth through magnetic energy, which is what we are and what plants are and what everything is in the end. All this exists now. The technology to cure now, today, as people all over the world put their money into cancer charities, shaking tins, people out of the goodness of their hearts at that level, but where does that money go? Straight to the drug companies who just want to keep us in ignorance of the fact that cancer has been curable for a long, long time. Same with AIDS, curable now, and all these other things. But we're not allowed to have them because there's an agenda that says that mustn't be in circulation. So I said to this guy, why do you do it? Why do you do this then? And he said, this is why I do it. He opened his shirt, and on his chest were two little polythene patches with kind of liquid in them, coloured liquid, drugs I learned was in there. His body has been manipulated to need those drugs to survive, or it starts to die. Those patches, as they are known in the trade, have to be replaced every 72 hours or he starts to die. When he refused to do something a couple of years ago, they didn't replace the patch for a few weeks, and he started to die in a very painful way. And that's why I do it, he said. Because if I don't, I'm not here. And so the reason that he tried to get hold of me was because his frustration, just wanting to do what he could to get out what was going on, even though he was in the position he was in. So this is the scale of what's going on, and when we uncover this, the technology that's available is just incredible. That will set the world free in so many ways from the prisons that have been created today. But this guy said something else to me, which I found very interesting and threw me into a whole new area of research, which I'm just going to go into now. I heard from many different sources over the years that behind this global elite is some kind of extraterrestrial force, extraterrestrial race or races. So I just threw the line out to this guy. I said, what do you think of this stuff, that there's extraterrestrial involvement in this stuff that's going on? Very matter-of-factly, he said, yeah, of course there are. I said, well, have you seen them? He said, yeah, I've seen them. They're in some of the underground projects, secret projects that I've worked in. I said, what do they look like? He said, apart from something different about the eyes, they look like you and me. So I then started to think, first of all, the bloodlines, and we'll go into this as we go along, because I've looked into genealogy, and it's fascinating where the people who run the world today come from. They just happen to come from the same genetic lines that have actually run the world through thousands of years. It's just a coincidence, nothing to worry about. So that I started to think, hey, these people are obsessed with interbreeding. Could that be connected? And then I started to ask a few simple questions about mysteries of life, which are like just deaf to go, because we don't want to get into there. It might get us into some interesting areas we don't want to talk about. For instance, science cannot even begin to explain the quite glaring contradiction between the fact that there was an apparently primitive population in the ancient world, thousands of years BC, while structures were built that literally we would struggle to build today. How come? There's a structure at a place called Baalbek in Lebanon, built thousands of years BC, that involved moving 3 chunks of rock, which have become known as the trilithon, at least a third of a mile. Each of those rocks, 800 tons in weight, and they put one of these 800-ton rocks 20 feet up in a wall. Excuse me, how do they do that? How do they build the pyramids? They've had an effort to try to build some of these things and struggle with today's material. How come? The top of that, this is at Easter Island, another great mystery of the world. That hat weighs 10 tons. How do they do that? These primitive people. Look at this is in Peru. That was built in the ancient world. And just look at the technology necessary to do that. You can't get a piece of paper between these things. Yeah, I did it. Yeah, that's good. Who did these things? These are the Nazca lines in Peru. They scratched away, in some way, these lines to reveal the white surface underneath, and you can only see some of these things from 1,000 feet in the air. They were only noticed when we learned how to fly. Who did these things? And then there's one in England which is remarkable in the sense that it was a quite staggering prophecy of the eventual arrival on the planet of Bill Clinton. No, that's a joke, that one. That's actually true. That's in Dorset in England, which was done in the ancient world. Yeah, that's right, yeah. I think we've had enough of that. So, the question is, again, you look today, that's Stonehenge there. And here is what has become known as crop circles, or crop formations more like now since the 80s. I've been in that one, you know, it's like walking to a nuclear power station. That's the main road from London to Exeter. And that appeared within 45 minutes during the day, because a pilot went over there to an airfield over here, a place called Thruxton. 45 minutes later came back. It wasn't there when he went, but it was there when he came back. And of course these things are hoaxed, and were hoaxed in the past to try to discredit this phenomena. Because there is something that connects, and this is where so much research into this, I think, misses the point sometimes. You've got people researching into why the photographs of the face on Mars and stuff that have been found were actually produced in a way recently that tried to discredit the whole idea. Why are these things, why are the classic bloodline families like the Rockefellers involved in controlling the investigations now at Giza into finding artifacts and whatever, which would give us a greater fix on the ancient world? And people are investigating these things, people like Graham Hancock and what have you, who write the books on this stuff. But what so many people miss is that when you just come back and look at them, they are all connected. They are manipulations within a big manipulation. We need to get our vision back to see that. What connects them all? Connects them all is things that would wake us up to a greater vision of possibility of who we are and the nature of life and where we really came from. What I found in the time, what I found in the time when these crop formations started to appear and then get more and more intricate in the 80s, is people I know who would go around and they wouldn't even think about anything, people I knew. It was like, oh, is the price right on tonight? What's that then? And they were saying, hey, have you seen these crop things? There's more to life than meets the eye, isn't there? And then the scientists came along, if you remember originally, when asked what caused them, and they said, it's the wind. I was just saying last night in Vancouver, I don't know what they'd been eating when they created that program. It's ridiculous, isn't it? And then what happened was that in came the campaign to discredit. A couple of guys called Doug and Dave arrived and say, we did them all, totally ludicrous. And they hoaxed a few, and the whole thing is forgotten. They're still appearing in England every summer. They're getting more and more amazing, but never appears in the media. Because, and everyone knows Doug and Dave did it. That's right, it's all hoaxed. So there's a reason connecting all these things, and it's to shut us off from opening our mind to a bigger vision of possibility. There is just a picture for anyone who has a problem with the fact there might be other forms of life of the kind that we are around. There are 100 billion planets in this galaxy and an estimated 100 billion or more galaxies in this universe. Traveling at the speed of light, 186,000 miles a second, it would take 4.3 years to get to the nearest star to our sun. And yet, it's become more credible to say it's all a nonsense that there's any other life forms than it is to say there is something wrong somewhere. Can you imagine going, oh, he's bloody mad. He says there's other life forms in the universe more evolved than me. So I started looking into this, and of course, in the modern expression, there's a vast mass of books about experiences that people are having today, more and more, particularly since the end of the Second World War. And of course, this whole UFO extraterrestrial area is absolutely awash with disinformation. But disinformers don't disinform just because they like doing it, or some do, I guess, but most of them don't. They disinform because they're trying to throw, muddy the waters, so we don't see the kernel of truth that's in there somewhere that would open us up to what the hell's been going on and is still going on.